The top cop who put his badge on the line for justice.
You know the name Doug Poppa?
Yes, I do. God bless Doug Poppa, an honest cop.
He was a man of integrity. His testimony last summer freed an innocent man from jail who had already been convicted of shooting his ex-wife. But Poppa's going public cost him his job as an undercover cop.
I was elated, of course, but then as he testified, I was somewhat concerned for him, because I knew that they were probably going to crucify that man.
Sometimes the truth has a price. That may be the lesson of a Virginia police officer who says, in trying to do the right thing, he ended up paying for it.
The message you're sending is, see, we did it, Doug. You don't come out, you don't buck the system. No matter what the reason is, you just can basically keep your mouth shut. But if I wouldn't do it all over again, I would take the badge and I would leave it on somebody's desk and get out of police work. Because the day I can tell the truth because somebody's pressuring me, and the day the system doesn't want me to tell the truth because somebody's pressuring me, is the day I leave the badge on the desk and walk away.
Poppa was fired for insubordination. One man who confronted truth and consequences.
From Las Vegas, Nevada, welcome to the Truth and Consequences podcast, episode 130 for Wednesday, December 7th, 2022. I'm Doug Poppa, independent investigative journalist and former law enforcement officer. Ladies and gentlemen, according to sources, Clark County, Nevada Sheriff-elect Kevin McMahill, who was Sheriff Joe Lombardo's undersheriff before he retired. Let me get a photo up here real fast. Okay, that's him on the bottom. Up over here. And back over there. Close that out. Okay, Kevin McMahill was Sheriff Joe Lombardo's undersheriff before he retired. And he will take office in January as the head of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And according to sources I learned today, McMahill has announced who his command staff personnel will be. Now, on the left is current LVMPD Assistant Sheriff Andrew Walsh, who I am told will be promoted to undersheriff as Kevin McMahill's number 2. Current LVMPD Deputy Chiefs Sasha Larkin, Yesenia Yatomi, and Tim Seebock will all be promoted to the rank of Assistant Sheriffs. Current undersheriff, I'm told, Chris Darcy, is expected to retire on December 28th, along with Assistant Sheriffs John McGrath and Laz Chavez. Now, that's what I'm told today. Anything is always subject to change between now and January. But like I said, and you see in that photograph on the bottom, Andrew Walsh, the current Assistant Sheriff, is going to be promoted to undersheriff under Kevin McMahill. He'll be Kevin McMahill's number 2. And Sasha Larkin, current Deputy Chief, will be promoted to Assistant Sheriff. A lot of people are saying Walsh promotion and the Larkin promotion was not unexpected. Andrew Walsh has been very close friends with Kevin McMahill for years, and that was expected. Sasha Larkin, everybody said they expected her to be promoted, even though she was involved in some incidents over in Metro, including one I reported on just a while back, reference to the fire captain incident with Michelle Tavares, the captain. But people said it's not going to make a difference to McMahill. They expected her to be promoted when he took office. Yesenia Yatomi, I don't know too much about, but she came under scrutiny several years ago, I think when she was a lieutenant or a captain, something about a false police report or something, which was reported by somebody else. And Tim Seebock, I've never heard anything bad about the guy. Like I said, they'll all be promoted right now, from what I hear, to the rank of assistant sheriffs. Now there's rumor, that McMahill, I reported this back in one of the podcasts, something about this. There's rumor that McMahill wants a civilian chief of staff position at the undersheriff level, a position that would be new to the LVMPD if that ends up coming about. Now, talk within the LVMPD is that James Kilber, that's Kilber, who I believe is the current chief technology officer at the LVMPD, may be considered if the chief of staff position is approved. Again, that would be a civilian position. My thoughts on that is, why would McMahill need a chief of staff position when you have undersheriff, which is basically your number two? But that's the talk within Metro right now. Whether that comes to fruition, we will have to see. Now, I previously reported some episodes back that the talk was that retired LVMPD Assistant Sheriff Todd Fasulo may come back to the LVMPD in a civilian position if McMahill was elected sheriff. And I published that and talked about that before June when Kevin won the majority vote and became the sheriff-elect. So there was no runoff this past November. So there's a talk also that, again, Todd Fasulo over the years was also, going back years and years, was very close friends with Kevin McMahill and former Sheriff Doug Gillespie. And I think I mentioned that in another podcast. And I'll have more on that in a future podcast. I got information the other day about something else that happened a couple of years ago. But Todd Fasulo is currently the vice president of security at the Wynn Resort here in Las Vegas. So we have to see what's going to happen. The promotion of Deputy Chiefs Larkin, Yatomi, and Seebock would open up 3 deputy chiefs positions. Now, testing for promotions stops at the rank of captain. Deputy chiefs, assistant sheriffs, and the undersheriff are all appointed by the sheriff without any testing. So he can appoint whoever he wants, but they have to be, from my understanding, at the rank of captain. So there's also some talk going around that Captain Michelle Tavares, whose father is the retired captain who worked on the Internal Affairs investigation in 1995 with Kevin McMahill, and supposedly changed, and I did this in a podcast, changed the whole narrative during the election when he was interviewed by Channel 8, that she may be promoted to deputy chief as a favor to what the father did. That's the rumor going in the police department, but again, it's a rumor, nothing confirmed. We have to see what happens on that, and I covered that a little bit on the podcast back. So if she ends up getting promoted, I'll go back and I'll revisit it at that time. Now, Kevin McMahill, like I said, the 1995 incident, is going to take office in January under a cloud. And as I reported in several prior episodes, a 1995 LVMPD Internal Affairs Bureau investigation sustained charges against McMahill and another officer for being untruthful and misconduct unbecoming an officer, stemming from an incident where a woman in their custody was told to show them her vagina and then forced to eat crack cocaine in lieu of being arrested. And this all came out again right before the election, but, Kevin was elected and, he's the elected sheriff-elect, so the people wanted him and they got him. Sources said that nothing will change within the LVMPD other than the names on the door come this January when Kevin McMahill takes over. And that's pretty sad that the officers feel that way. But there may be truth behind that. Kevin McMahill and Joe Lombardo, and I've said this previously, are both corrupt, documented liars, and were complicit in numerous cover-ups over the years. And I've documented those in several podcasts. Just about all of them have never been picked up by the Las Vegas media. They stay mute on all this stuff. McMahill, whose integrity and morals are in the gutter as far as I'm concerned, will continue that trend by surrounding himself with loyalists who will bow and be complicit whenever something needs to be swept under the carpet. And that's what sources are saying also. They don't expect any revelations here when this guy takes office in January. Then again, folks, you got to be fair. Everybody's subject to change. Kevin McMahill is now going to be the number one. He's not going to have to answer to the sheriff. So maybe Kevin McMahill will take a good look at himself in the mirror and, despite his past transgressions, turn over a new leaf. McMahill has the opportunity come this January to do the right thing when he takes over command of the LVMPD. For the sake of the police department and the community, one can only hope that that happens. But I, for one, am not going to hold my breath. I'll have a few links to the description section of this video to prior episodes that covered Lombardo, McMahill, and Sasha Larkin. I did some podcast on her also. Folks, remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel of Truth and Consequences with Doug Poppa by hitting the red subscribe button and then the notification bell so you'll be notified when new episodes get published. Like I said, this is my forum for my investigative journalism, my analysis, my commentary. I do it on this channel. I don't work for a newspaper or a radio or television station. Support my independent investigative journalism if you can at paypal.me /Doug Poppa. Contact me at Truth and Consequences WDP, William David Paul, WDP, at gmail.com. And my throat's killing me for some reason again. It's the allergies or the cold or something, so I'm going to cut it short with this episode. We'll see you on the next one. I just wanted to report that this is the information I got today, and it came from sources within the police department. So we'll see what happens come January, and one could only keep their fingers crossed and hope that people start put themselves aside and start looking that they work for the community. And but a lot of cops are telling me that they don't expect anything to change. Kevin McMahill has been 30 years on the police department out here, and was involved in all kinds of stuff going back for years, even when he was in command rank under former sheriff. So, and that's sad. And I said this in a previous podcast that this is why when you have these elections and you have all this money here in Southern Nevada, and the Clark County Sheriff, there is no police chief out here. The elected sheriff of Clark County, a lot of people get confused on this, so I'll say it again. There is no police chief running the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. The elected sheriff of Clark County commands the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And you have this continual circle that never gets unbroken, because whoever the incumbent sheriff, as was the case again with Kevin McMahill, the incumbent sheriff, this time Joe Lombardo, supported Kevin McMahill. He gets the money from the casinos and the businesses, and this is what goes on for years. And then somebody who may be much better as the sheriff doesn't have the money to compete with the advertising and the television to get the word out. So it's the same thing that goes around and around and around, and you end up with who you end up with as a sheriff. And then again, everybody knows that Joe Lombardo won the election in November. He is the governor-elect. He will be the governor of Nevada, taking office in January, and he is corrupt, incompetent, and a documented liar, and I've proved that multiple times over. And he's now going to be running the entire state. But, somebody made a comment the other day to me that he appointed a chief of staff, somebody who has experience, because the comment is he's too stupid and incompetent to run as a governor and know what he's doing. So he has to hire have somebody as number two as a chief of staff to basically run the show, and he'll be a figurehead. That's what they're saying. But everybody knows I'm not I give my opinion on McMahill and Joe Lombardo. I'm not fans of them. But I just hope, again, like I said before, that for the sake of the police department, there's a lot of good officers on the police department, and, that he just turn over a new leaf and say, hey, I did things wrong. He's also, I reported that many sources have told me over the years, he's a heavy drinker, that he looks himself in the mirror and says, listen, I got to put the bottle down. I'm now in charge. I can do good things for this department. But if the same thing continues with targeting cops who fall out of grace with the administration, while other cops get away with stuff, as is the case with this Michael Ramirez, who I reported on. And by the way, the media still hasn't done anything with that. Michael Ramirez is a convicted criminal. He's a police officer, reinstated, and he has to go back to court in March. He has a 6-month sentence hanging over his head. You'll see it in the episode I did. These are all things that just bring a police department down, and why anybody would stand for anything like that is beyond me. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode. I got more coming out on more cover-ups and this and stuff going on outside of Las Vegas, and we had all this stuff going on in the news the other day. 2 stories that I heard last month. We had a deputy, I believe, in Florida, who was cleaning his AR-15 rifle and claimed the rifle fell on the floor, went off by itself, and shot his daughter. She didn't die in the hip. Got hit with a .223 round. I've been dealing with firearms for over 40 years, and I've never had a firearm in my life, even ones that have fallen on the floor sometimes by mistake, go off accidentally. You have to pull the trigger. And then we had the last week, I guess it was, the other deputy in Florida, this complete freaking moron, who in my opinion should be charged with homicide, was joking around with his roommate, who was another deputy. They were both off duty, and the gun went off, and he killed his this other deputy, his roommate, because he was joking around with a gun. A freaking idiot. I want to say something. I corrected this in the description section of the last podcast, but I said that Michael Sheehan, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department officer, and I reported that he took his own life. I mistakenly said on the podcast that it happened on duty, and I don't know why. I was looking at the prompter, and it said, it happened off duty, but, sometimes your mind goes. I fixed it in the description section of that podcast, but just to want people know, it didn't happen on duty. It happened off duty, and it's very sad. And I'm going to do a whole episode on a podcast on this, because when a police officer takes their own life, anytime, and whether on duty or off duty, it's a completely troublesome, because they a lot of these, like I said in another podcast, there's a stigma. Not only with, police departments or in the military, that if you need to go for counseling because you have some problems or something you want to get off your chest, they feel you can't do it because it's people find out about it, it'll keep you from getting promoted, and that has to stop, because there's, like I said in the other podcast, there's nothing different. There's no difference between if you break your arm, you go to a medical doctor, and if you have something wrong that you need to talk to people, you should be able to go to a psychologist or a counselor and talk. And a lot of times, those people are more mentally sound than the people who keep it bottled up inside. So anyway, I don't want to go on a rant about it, but it's very sad that this a young guy, 33 years old, took his own life. It's extremely sad. And like I said, my condolences to the family and his colleagues. That's it for this episode, folks. My throat's just it's killing me. So I just can't talk anymore. So I'll see you on the next podcast, and thanks for listening.